Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11, looking at pitching options for tonight's slate. 6 games, usual Thursday amounts. Definitely have one clear-cut cash game option, and then it's a lot of average or maybe a little bit underperforming pitchers after that. But overall, not a bad slate for pitching. We've seen far worse. So breaking down the top option, that's Luis Severino on the slate in terms of the night slate. Of qualified pitching because Mike Clevenger has a 28.4% strikeout rate. We're looking at Severino here, 27.7% strikeout rate this year, 54.1% ground ball rate, FIP and XFIP under 4, ERA under 3, doesn't walk a lot of batters, under a 7% walk rate, not giving up a ton of hard contact either. You look at him, he's your biggest favorite at home. Against this Angels team that's just, bottom 10 in terms of ISO, WOBA, and WRC plus against right-handed pitching. And that lineup actually has a few more strikeouts in it than people might think. Against right-handed pitching here, pull it up. Against right-handed pitching, some of that back half of that lineup, Luis Valbuena, high strikeout rate against righties. Cole Calhoun's is actually over 20% as well. And then you get guys like Eric Young, Maldonado, Denny Espinosa. They do strike out quite a bit. So there are some back half guys there that Severino can get the strikeouts with and carry a decent floor and upside. So I have no issues with him in GPPs and tournaments. He's my favorite cash game option, just huge favorite at home. Angels just not a good offense. Definitely look for him to bounce back. He struggled a little bit in Oakland, but he's fine for me here. We'll move on to Jake Arrieta. This is a guy who just hasn't pitched all that great this year. Maybe he's been a little bit unlucky. Looking at him in his last start, talked about his numbers being a little bit skewed this year in terms of left on base percentage, the BABIP over, his Chicago Cubs career at least. These are all, highs or lows, depending on how you look at it. But 10.4% swing strike rate, still solid for me. 25.7% strikeout rate, just a 7.5% walk rate as well. Sierra 3.8, the ERA 4.64, FIP 4.04, 3.76 XFIP. So maybe give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit here. I don't think he's been as bad as advertised. In terms of fantasy production, sure, he hasn't been the greatest, but we've seen some upside out of him at times. FanDuel, they're not really giving you a discount, but DraftKings, they are. This is where I kind of see him making more of the move. But you look at him, barely went 4.2 innings in his last start and still got you 16.3 DK points. Obviously the start before that, he was awful. But you look before then, the same Miami team that was at home, 20.5% DK points. Against the Padres, he was fine. Blow up in Coors, blow up against Boston. So, he's been against some good teams that have hit him hard. Marlins offense, they're weird because I always expect this offense to be better against right-handed pitching than they actually are. In terms of just their lineup 1 through 9, I feel like they're scrappy, but 19th in WOBA, middle of the road in ISO, 20.4% strikeout rate. I definitely think Arrieta can go out and have a good quality start here, possibly pick up a win with Jeff Locke on the hill. And, Vegas, he is a road favorite. Marlins just a 4.25 implied run total. So this one I don't mind. I don't mind Arrieta in terms of the secondary option. He can even be a first in GPPs if you're looking to pay down and get some bats. But Arrieta I don't mind here. FanDuel, I'm going to have a tough time just not using Severino, who's been more consistent. But I won't rule him out for tournaments there. Then breaking into the later games, we start to get to some lefties. And those 10-10 games, we get 3 lefties that I'm somewhat intrigued with. We'll start with Steven Matz. Guys first came back from the injury, went 7 innings, allowed 3 home runs. That was the issue, 8 hits as well. It was good to see him not walk anyone and go deep into the game. Those home runs did come later on. Maybe they left him in a little bit longer than expected. Dodgers offense against left-handed pitching, still, not bad. They're starting to pick things up. Not as great as I still expected with some of those platoon bats in, but they're definitely not where they were last year. They still have a 21% strikeout rate against lefties. They do rank 10th in WOBA, though, so, they're not the the team that you can just pick on and throw anyone out against. But Matz is always a guy that people kind of forget about. I mean, when healthy, this guy was a serviceable, high upside pitcher at times, and with an above average swinging strike rate in his career, above average strikeout rate. I'll consider him here. Looking at this lineup, you're going to get probably guys like Austin Barnes, Kike Hernandez, Franklin Gutierrez, Chris Taylor, Justin Turner is definitely going to be back in the lineup tonight. Definitely some dangerous bats for him to worry about. Vegas has that run total up just because they've been scoring a ton of runs over the last, week or so. Definitely a high risk, high reward play, but 6,900, I'll take a look at him on DraftKings. He's an intriguing GPP way to go on a small slate. So kind of going against the grain with some of these guys because I know a lot of people take the Dodgers bats. So he's a contrarian move to consider. And I think on the other side of that one, you can look at Ryu as a cash game SP2 or a GPP SP1. Mets against left-handed pitching, 22.9% strikeout rate. They rank 24th in WOBA. Things kind of swung rather quickly for them against lefties, but you're looking at their lineup. Wilmer Flores, Yoenis Cespedes scares you. That's it. Outside of that, I'm not afraid of anyone else here. I don't see Jose Reyes hitting 2 homers against a lefty like against Kershaw the other night, but hopefully I didn't jinx that. But I don't mind Ryu here. He's a guy who I feel like has been a lot better than advertised as well. 21.5% strikeout rate, but the 11.6% swinging strike rate is very solid. 47% ground ball rate. I expect things to even out for him a little bit. BABIP a little bit higher. Left on base percentage a little bit lower at 3.90 FIP. Expect him to come around a little bit here, over the next few starts. I think this is a good start where you can get back on track. Last lefty that I want to take a look at, this is another GPP guy, is Daniel Norris. Norris has kind of figured things out. This guy's missing some bats. The walk rate's always the issue. Still giving up a little bit more of a hard contact than I like. 357 BABIP, that's going to come down. But you look at him, you look at the FIP, it's under 4 compared to the ERA, which is over. Sierra a little bit lower than his ERA. I like Norris' potential here. He's put together a string of good starts as well, so he's in good form. You look in terms of his DK, he's been over 15 in each of his last 3, 4 of his last 5. He did struggle against Kansas City. This is a guy who just continues to walk guys. That's the issue. Give us some base runners, but the strikeouts have been there: 8, 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 4, 8 over his last 7, 8 starts there. He has that potential. He has it tonight. Seattle's getting healthier, which is a little bit scary. But this is still a lineup that against lefties, 17th in WOBA. ISO numbers against lefties have been awful, even with Nelson Cruz, but they rank 28th in ISO against lefties. So, definitely some potential, but also it's just a GPP risk, just in terms of blow potential. But the upside is there. So I think capping it off, staying away from all those other guys, those are offenses I want to target. But Severino comes in as your top cash game option, even GPPs, I don't mind. I'll put Arrieta behind him, especially on DK where he's 8,800. And then Ryu. I think those are 3 cash game playable arms. And then we get Matz and Norris as the GPP guys. So that's going to wrap things up for me. You can head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out our great tools and content.